All right, welcome back to the game. Our Deadlands slash Call of Cthulhu slash everything else mishmash. Don't hold us to the rules too much because, well,
They're
we're only
confusing.
play by the rules that we want to play, and we'll dump all the rest. Let's see here. When what last we had Chris and Gustav going up to the mine area and came close to their quarry, but perhaps decided a little bit best of valor and decided to extract themselves from that situation before things got too heated. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is kind of hanging out in the town of Etna and have roused some of the major players of the smallish town of Etna. And I'm not sure where they're going with that rousing, but they were looking into what they understand is a mining party that had shown up not too far away from town, made camp, and everybody from that camp seems to have disappeared. So, Gustav and
Wasn't there
go
an expedition that went to go check out the place? Those are the people we want to talk to, the leaders of that expedition, right?
Yes, I think those are the people we summoned.
Yeah. So Gustav and Chris, you have backed your way out of the mine. Carefully
Carefully.
squeaked by the horse.
Yeah, I remember that took a couple of tricky rolls there. I believe we were trying to figure out how to get back and alert the others, and
Yeah,
maybe try to
right.
get back and come at them stronger, because we were definitely not equipped to deal with what we were facing.
You had also briefly looked into the pit. That you, if I recall, you saw some what appeared to be charred bodies. And,
Yep, a large pit with smoke coming out of it, multiple bodies with 20, also with 20 of the grub-like creatures, everything smoldering.
And we'll say that you are basically right now at the entrance of the mine, having gotten by the horse without the horse seemingly to have thrown up too much noise or anything. You can still hear echoing in the mine a sort of a tink, tink, tink every now and then. What would you two like to do?
Well, I think at this point, Gustav, it will behoove us to get back to our horses and get into town and meet up with the others as expeditiously and as quietly as possible.
Yeah, it would behoove us to hoof it
Yeah.
silently.
All right. I would like for you all to both roll one more sneaking.
That is 3
Terror level of this area is at 2, so your toughness is 7.
Thank God I got a 6. And another 6. And a 5. So 12, 17.
Lost
So
track of
one
my
success
sneak.
and one raise.
Okay, so nimbleness.
Are you trying to sneak away from Sir Destruction? In which case, good luck on the roll.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Gustav, that's a tough roll for you.
Careful, I left my clown horn somewhere out by that campsite.
Okay, one success. I got an 8.
Oh, okay. That's what you need. Now, mind you, you do have a sneak of 1,
Yes.
right? So did you roll 1d8 or did you roll your nimbleness?
I rolled my nimbleness.
Okay, so if you want to go with your nimbleness, you actually have to roll at a toughness of 9. It's two toughness levels higher.
Okay, well then I'll do that because an 8 is the max, so that's an explosion, right?
Sure. So go ahead and blow it up. Yeah.
Okay.
And you
And
always
a 5.
Okay, you always want to do those blow ups because
Yeah.
having succeeded is good, but if you happen to raise, there might be something going on that, a sneak will barely get you by, but a raise might get you by more unscathed.
Okay, yeah, I got you there. All right, so success.
Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me, Greg. I'm trying to be.
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at the how this could turn out if I didn't do that correctly.
He's laughing with you.
I'm laughing at the superior intellect. What movie? An excellent movie.
Wrath of Khan.
There you go.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so you get by there. You start approaching your horses. I would like for you now both to roll cognition. Again, toughness level is 7.
One success.
I see my horse.
You said difficulty 7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 success.
1 success. I assume you don't light up any torches or have any lanterns kind of out, so it's fairly dark. You both catch out of your corner of your eye as you're approaching your horses, which I assume you tied off basically out in the brush of remember you parked your horses, whatever, tied off your horses. I think you said like 100 feet away from the pit area. But you notice over the edge of the pit, just for a moment, you see some movement low to the ground that goes right back into the pit again.
Where we had already looked previously, where the bodies were?
Yes.
And the grubs? Okay.
Yes.
Well, Christopher, I don't know if you just saw that there, but I'm keen on getting out of here right quick.
Let's get back to the town and get with the others and let them know what we found. We're in the right place, at least.
Yeah, I don't much care to know what that was.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to find out sooner than later.
Later than sooner.
Yeah.
Because you're leaving.
It would be very good when you come back to bring a whole lot of kerosene.
Why don't you tell me how it goes down and I'll write it up in the paper?
So while you're undoing your horses and starting to ride back to town, again, the town of Etna is only about 1.5 miles away or so, so it won't take too terribly long. But let's go back to Vance and Walter and Gabriel. And what are you all doing? You all have managed to start a bit of a commotion on this, I recall, Tuesday evening, and you've largely managed to get the quote-unquote mayor up, the saloon owner, the general and hardware store owner, and the preacher has also come out of the church and has kind of joined.
Preacher, I thought you said creature.
And the creature. After tearing apart the church, has come to join. No. What are you all doing?
We wanted to gather some more information about the expedition to go check out the mine or the mining camp.
Okay. Let's see here. I guess.
We have the sheriff as our authority figure.
Yeah, you definitely got the sheriff with you. Let's see. And I believe you also still have Lloyd with you. Tony was one who tried to head back and find out where the other posse is, right?
Yeah, because we didn't leave a note back in the other town.
Right, back in Word. Right. So.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
All right. So you got him there as well. Mr. Savell, Picks up. He's the owner of the saloon. He's like, well, can't say I went directly to where those miners were working. Certainly got a lot of stories from them when they come back from the mine. I will say that I certainly missed their business. Business was quite good for a little while. Strange enough, though, they never paid in gold, although that was their stated reason for trying to reopen that mine. If I recollect, the Craven mine wasn't entirely paid out, but the owners, they just boarded it up because although it wasn't totally paid out, he had bought a couple other mineral rights and had moved his business onwards. I think he was intending to come back and eventually rework the mine, but he did close it up rather sudden-like. I do recall that.
When you said they didn't pay in gold, you mean that they paid in cash, or did they pay in another mineral?
No, they paid in cash.
Understood.
Well, I mean, it's not like they're smelting the gold and making their own gold pieces. So I guess that's not too surprising.
Yes, but usually nuggets are used and flake.
Flake and nuggets are pretty common, as well as, I mean, it's not like as far as you all know at least, there wasn't any like, if it's a hard rock mine, they'd have, crushing equipment and such, but that's usually for a pretty large operation.
It's actually what I call my fists, flake and nuggets.
So Val looks over to Mr. Elks. This goes, Tully, you helped him close up that mine, didn't you? You three, please roll a. No.
Ignition?
No. Not the cognition roll.
Scrutinize. Scrutinize. Over here telling someone's truthfulness.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. Scrutinize rolls, please.
Oh.
Difficulty's 5.
Started on a good note. Oh, 1 and a 3.
Woo! An explosion.
Oh, effort. A 4 and 2 2s.
I got a 1 and a 3.
I'm gonna burn a chip to roll another one.
Really?
All right.
What was the target? 5?
5.
Great.
When you
1
guys-
success, 2 raises.
Oh, never mind.
Holy.
Never mind.
Well. All right. I will send you a quick message.
Make sure it's to me.
Yeah, that's what I was just doing.
Oh, what did I just get?
Let's see here.
Carl, what's that background image of?
That is the final duel from the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ah,
So if I move my head, you can see the third person there.
got it. So we can have the indifferent, the ambivalent, and the nonchalant. But none of them showed.
Vance, could you also give me a knowledge roll at a difficulty of 7?
Oof.
Excuse me.
Find the 8-siders. Oh, here's. Woohoo! 1 explosion. 3. Okay. Out of the 4d8, 3 of them are exploding.
Okay.
I will see which one gets
You
the
may-
highest explosion.
Correct.
The highest explosion was 8, was 14. So 1 success, 1 raise.
All right. 1 second.
The other roll is a 3.
That's what I want. I'm just looking for an image. Hold on here. There you go, sir.
Okay, what do I need this from? Oh, this was, oh, okay. Wow.
Boy, in some ways, passing around secrets is so much easier on Zoom. Dr. Trout, I can only see your nose upward.
I still eating ice cream. I don't want everybody to see it.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. I just wanted to make sure it was intentional. Ah, nummies. Mr. Elks awkwardly goes quiet. Mr. Sibelius goes, so yeah, anyway, so yeah, they paid in script, Northern script. They complained that a lot of their tools weren't sharp enough. I remember that. Barkeep leans over the bar, kind of overhearing a little bit of what y'all are talking about. He goes, yeah, one guy's got good and liquored up. Remember that. Weird. He said they didn't find one lick of gold. They didn't even go into the damn mine. They said they were digging some new vein. Kind of seems odd if you have a mine shaft right there ready to go.
I didn't hear the comment about you helped close the mine. Does that imply that was recently or years ago?
Oh, Bill didn't say when it was closed.
So the sense we got from the stories that they reopened the mine, although they didn't. They opened a different vein.
Yeah, it was reopened quite recently. Insofar as when it was initially closed, nobody's asked yet. So,
how long's the mine been in operation?
Dixon, that was a fairly decent paying mine. Good solid 15-year. Closed up right around turning. No, it was a year into the war.
So when did these fellows show up?
Oh, they showed up, what, 2 months ago?
And
Mind
so-
you, a year into the war would be almost exactly down to the month when Kansas got admitted into the Union.
When did so when did the miners stop showing up to buy supplies?
Well, they haven't showed up for, I don't know, what, 4 days?
Anybody find that to be suspicious?
Well, sure.
Curious? Suspicious.
They
Curious.
showed up almost every evening, drank, gambled, pour around a little bit.
I thought the preacher. I thought you said that there was a group of people that went to check on the mine. That recently?
The preacher goes, well, only heard particular stories. The people who I was in reference to for going to the mine was the miners. The good men here were the ones who said that they knew more about what the goings on was.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. So are you guys planning on, so Sheriff, you mind telling them why we're here? It's probably more yours to say than ours.
Well, sure. Mayor, Mr. Seville, Mr. Elch, we're here basically hunting down the murderer who, well, I suppose we could say at the very least killed 2 people up in Coldwater. And upon tracking his methods, to good thanks of Mr. Barnett here, went through the little town of Wirt, not too far from here. All the men nod, yeah, we know Wirt. Well, there's going to be a lot of very sad kinfolk. We found at least 6 dead there, and hear a couple of whispers. Or you can tell that the barkeep seems particularly hit by the information. The preacher says, well, perhaps we should send some people there. They're all good Christians there. Well, certainly not tonight. Tomorrow we should go and tend to the following. Mr. Whisk behind the bar says, "Hells yeah, I'll go."
Well, so that's all well and good, but we're hot on the trail of this murderer. That's why we're asking about it, because sorry, out of character. We saw his tracks heading towards the mine, and then we headed to town, or it headed to the neighborhood of the town. So we as a group in the town don't really know where he went. Correct.
You all in the town do not know whether the murderer has ridden into town or what. You're going off of the experience of Christopher, basically, making the judgment, and you're waiting for Gustav and Chris to come back from the mine. They were just scouting.
So we're hot on the trail of this murderer. We know he's headed to this neck of the woods. Has there been anything unusual happening this evening? Or any strangers about that you would have cause to be? Was he riding what kind of a black horse? Was that what he was riding?
Yeah. Well,
that's what we believe.
We believe he's riding a big black horse with no hooves or no shoes.
No hooves would be.
No hooves.
Automobile.
That'd be a tough horse.
You actually don't know the color of assuming the rider switched up horses in Wirt, you don't know what the color of the new steed might be.
So a rider, a physical description of him: tall, dressed in black.
Dressed in black, that's about the best you got.
Might be carrying a big sword, or
could be gray, could be dark brown, tan.
He probably rode in with a satchel. A very large satchel that could probably hold a man.
Disassembled man.
Still
Yes.
goes, well, he didn't come into the saloon. Whisk shakes it. No, we haven't had anybody new in here. Well, since the miners stopped showing up. The mayor and Mr. Elks both kind of shake their heads going, no, can't say I saw a new face in town either. Preacher goes, just kind of waves off. Nobody new in the flock.
So it would be advisable for folks in your town to be on, maybe not, to be aware and keeping their eyes open for anything unusual while we look around for this villain.
Well, if you give us some more, I mean, if you can pin down the description a little bit more, can't go around placing under arrest every singular, man coming in.
So we know he's riding a horse with no horseshoes. Over a long distance, like we call them.
Unshotted horse, yes.
Unshod horse. Did the Indians have? That's something Indians do, have unshod horses? Did they?
Yes.
No, mostly.
He didn't look like an Indian from what we could tell, from what we saw. Was there like a long coat or anything like that? Do we have any details of description of him?
Yeah. No, you don't have a detailed description. Only because it was a fleeting glimpse at night in the unlit area of Coldwater when the rider left. Was it you, Chris, that saw the rider?
Yeah, but I'm not there.
Yeah, that's true.
I had the secondhand account from the gravedigger.
Oh, that's true, from Mr. Stone.
He told me about the large black horse, and he gave me a general. I didn't roll very well out of character.
No,
But I did get at least a minimum description.
In general, if it had been a clearly Indian, that probably would have been pointed out. There was nothing, wasn't wearing like a war dress or anything along those lines. That's certainly not to say that all Indians at the time ran around with feathers off their heads and such like that. They did not by a long shot. That's mostly ceremonial. So it certainly could have been Native American, sure.
I don't want to spread that word. I don't want to spread that around because then you might just get a bunch of hate dropping on people who already get a lot of hate.
So yes, we can't give you a detailed description. What we can tell you is that avoid any strangers besides us.
Especially those who are traveling alone.
Yeah.
Yes. People that are traveling alone. He is definitely going to be a larger gentleman. And the biggest problem is when you do go into Wirt, you will notice that the people there were not just killed, but they were, yes, ritualistically butchered. And when I say that, I'll kind of look at Mr. Elks to see what his reaction is.
All right. Now that you're kind of zoned in on that,
Make a scrutinize roll if need be.
yeah, give me another scrutinize, but we'll drop this down to 5.
All right. One success.
Okay.
Come on.
He almost he takes that information actually a lot more stoically than perhaps one would expect. The preacher looks paled. Pretty much the other guys kind of shake their head, and Savell kind of goes, "What kind of crazy ass person would do something like that?" Well, fair enough. Mayor, Seville looks to Dixon. Perhaps you could authorize us to go ahead and we'll form up a little bit of a town protection posse, perhaps, for the next couple of days. How's that sound, everybody? And the mayor kind of shrugs his shoulders and goes, "Sure, yeah, we could probably go ahead and do that." All right. Well, I suppose we're safe enough tonight. Or is that not a good? Get your 223 ready to go.
Yeah, this is my Blade Runner blaster.
Yeah, which is a 223.
Well, it's a shotgun with a 45 Charter Arms or 44 Magnum Charter Arms.
Oh, my mic's been off. I've been saying lots of really wise things. So it's been two nights.
Never sounded better.
On the first night, people were killed in Coldwater. On the second night, people were killed in Wirt. We're still in the second night, right? We're just later in, or was it?
Oh,
there's the third night because we stayed over in Wirt.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think I would be particularly complacent. I would be more concerned about the safety of my town.
You mean when you go to a town and tell them that a bunch of people were ritually murdered one town over, that might cause some alarm? That's probably.
I think it should cause some alarm.
It's pretty a little, maybe a little jumping at shadows, dismembered shadows.
All right. Well,
I think we're kind of tuckered out. We don't have a lot of. We've got to take a bit of a rest before we go looking around for this guy. So are we supposed to? You guys want to wait till morning, or?
I want the room far away from Gustav.
I only have slight night terrors. I don't know what you're talking about. Ah!
That's because he's eating cabbages tonight? Because I agree with you.
No, it was the crab cakes and beer. But yeah, we're probably pretty smoked, and I imagine we'll do better with some sleep and sunlight.
all right. Well, it's a bit late to arrange some sleep-ins, but Mr. Elks gets up and goes, "I'll go talk to Mrs. Pawnee. She runs a small boarding house. I'm sure she can set you up, even though it's a bit late night."
It's not crazy late. It's before midnight, so at least it's not insanely
Tuesday
crazy
night, people
hours.
get up at dawn.
Yeah, but it's not 2 a.m. At least it's not midnight.
Yeah, that's true. Savell says he tells Whisk to, serve him up whatever he wants to get. I'll go rouse up some boys. We'll get some lanterns up and lit, and get some eyes on the town. And he throws on his over jacket and heads out the door. Mr. Elks looked at y'all and said, "Well, you need some sleep-ins? Grab your gear, follow me. Let me take you over to Miss Pony's house."
What are we gonna do with our horses?
Actually, the saloon in the back has some stalls and such where you can water up and feed the horses. Whisk kind of shrugs his shoulder and goes, "I guess it's on Mr. Seville."
All right, that's excellent. All right, unless we have something pressing or something happens, I don't really see a reason not to try to get some shut eye and hit the ground running in the morning.
Okay, Walt, if you could turn up your mic just a little bit more, that'd be appreciated.
All right.
There you go. Okay. Mr. Elks starts leading y'all out. Mr. Dixon kind of looks around, goes, well, I guess I'll walk the horses to the stables, and kind of follows y'all out. He seems sort of a sad character in a way. And I guess you point out your mounts to him, and start taking care of your horses.
Didn't we leave a borrowed wagon outside of town, as I recall, because we came in somewhat stealthily?
Yeah.
You know what? It'll keep tonight. I don't was gonna rip. I don't think anyone's gonna steal that overnight. We'll just have to chance it.
It's a fair distance out of town. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know. Okay.
Okay. So leads the horses around, or your horses get gathered up, and you can kind of fairly easily hear the stable out behind the saloon. So if you need to get there quick, you have a good rough idea of where to go. Mr. Elks walks up to a fairly nice looking, it's a house, right? Boarding houses are typically just, large houses that, once had a large family in it. Usually, due to whatever reasons, it's down to just one or two people, and then they rent out the various rooms. Sometimes modifying the house to increase the amount of rooms available. And Mr. Elks goes up to the door, and there's actually a little bell, and he kind of ting 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 ting. Just kind of nods and looks at Joe and says, "Yes, Jack." Ting ting ting. And about 2 minutes later, a lady opens up the door, mid-50s, a little heavy set, a little bonnet over her hair, and looks like some rather rushedly put on overclothing. Opens up the door. What the hell are you ringing my door so late at night? Mr. Elk goes, I'm sorry. These fellers really need some sleep. They've done us a good one for the town. Think you can set them up real quick? She rubs her chin a bit. Yeah, I suppose it is. I ain't got no food prep for y'all, though. She opens up the door.
That's fine. Don't think we need food, ma'am.
All right. If you really need something, I could probably hold some cold cuts or something real quick.
Whatever you do, we don't need fried eggs. Don't put yourself.
And no cabbage. No cabbage for Gustav.
I'm
In the morning's fine. We don't need to eat right now.
Yeah, I imagine we are all like pretty much really, really wiped out. And I know Walt is hankering for some shut-eye.
So our colleagues haven't come back yet, have they?
Yes, we do have two colleagues that
They'll be fine.
went by the mine to check that out, and then they were going to join us.
So you just said that in front of Else, right?
Mr. Elk says, well, give me a quick description. I'll just wait here on the veranda. When I see him, I'll flag him down.
I can give him a description of Mr. Barrett and Mr. Gustav Gustav.
I like Mr. Gustav. You can stick with that.
I couldn't remember if Gustav was the last name or the first name, and I just looked down at your picture and went, "Oh yeah."
Mr. Alex kind of nods and steps out onto the porch. One of those classic glider seats made out of wood. He lights up a pipe.
Since she's going to take the other two in and show them rooms, I'm going to turn and just have a quick conversation with Mr. Elks.
All right. All right. The doctor and Walt, you're led upstairs. Smallish rooms, but certainly functional. Miss Pone says, "Now just give me 1 minute. I'll fetch you all some water. Put in your pitchers. All standard amenities already there in the bedrooms. And you find again small rooms, single bed, nice enough, little warm, not the newest of mattresses or anything, but little desk, little chamber pots.
How about a nice feather pillow?
It's got a pillow and some okay blankies. So I assume you two turn in and go to sleep.
Yeah, I am.
All right, Vance.
Walt might have some special ritual before he goes to bed.
I sent you a text how I started it.
Oh, okay.
You guys have not heard from us yet, and you don't know if we're safe and sound. But you're going to sleep just fine.
We're tired.
I'm just trying to get that.
You're grown-ups. You're part of the posse.
Okay.
I'm still
I
awake.
assume he'd be okay.
My character is still awake. Of course, he just had a little bit of snuff at the tavern, so he's going to be a little wired for a little bit longer.
I figured,
Just your lack of concern is noted.
I figured
You're
if he
either
got
going to
killed,
be okay or you're not. There's nothing me staying awake is going to change.
I figured if
about
he got killed, you'd tell us.
Figure, and got the snuff to wake you up, a little laudanum to put you down. There's drug for everything. But
Yeah.
Um,
Life through chemicals.
that's right. Mr. Alex kind of looks you up and down. More than most.
I didn't want to explain to everyone in the tavern about the ritualistic murders. But it was quite disturbing, and there was some sort of a sigil that was drawn out on the floor that I don't really understand, and I'll try to...
I have a lovely drawing of my notebook.
Right, and the problem is you went upstairs.
That's true.
And I will try to explain it to him and get his input.
All right.
And I'll explain to him how the people had been butchered.
Give me I don't know if anybody's got any points in this, but give me a tale telling.
Oh, man. No, I don't. So that's going to be the mean. Oof.
Yeah. So
I can do that too.
difficulty
But I'm
7.
sleeping.
Difficulty 7. All right. Oh, get lucky. Ah, I got an 8
Got an 8. Oh, that'll
and a
blow up.
1. All right, so a 9.
All right, fair enough. Now, what makes you think I know about such markation?
It's just the intricacies of those cuffs are definitely different from most cuff buttons. I'm just trying to... My group has no background in this. I was hoping that you might provide us with some sort of insight so that I can get a better idea of perhaps what kind of a man this could be that we're going up against.
Now you understand. Myself and other folk around these parts, we keep such information typically amongst ourselves.
Yes.
I think you
And
want
it's
some money.
wise that you do things like that because most people that are a good Christian don't understand.
Well, my brethren and I, we have a long history all the way back down to our forefathers, the founders, if you will, of the country.
Ah,
You get the impression that he's a Mason.
yes. was trying to figure out if I would have known that from his thing. Me personally, I know that. My character, when my character know of the Masons?
Do you have any occult? Oh yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll the your occult.
Okay.
Just difficulty of it'd be actually right now difficulty of 6 technically, because you told the story of the murdering whatever, so the terror is raised by 1 in the town.
Okay, well, I got 2 5, so I missed that.
I mean, you've certainly heard of the Masons.
Yes.
Depending on the strength of the particular lodges and such of the area, more in-depth of knowledge that can be obtained. The odds are very good that Mr. Alex is you get the impression that by him wearing even the smallest of indications would represent that he's A, been in the Masons for a relatively long period of time, and B, carries at least some stature within the local lodge. Now, is the local lodge here? Probably not.
Yeah.
A lodge would be, there are probably other members in town, or at least were once. There's certainly a strong lodge up in Dodge. Off the top of your head, you're not sure if there's a lodge in Coldwater. There probably is, but they've probably kept it sufficiently under wraps and so few people involved that you just don't know about. At least not yet. Mr. Elks continues. Well, yes, certainly. What you described could involve mysticisms. It could be somebody who's just plain old delusional and is making up rites on the spot. Usually you can tell the amateur from the experience, though, from how you describe the sigil that you found, as well as some of the remnants, not just bodies, but the materials left behind. I would be inclined to not think that this is not just a crazy person making up things off the top of their heads. Now, if you have somebody who truly has faiths and convictions of such cultish matters, very well might have significant troubles on your hands. Leading on to that, I notice your arm fairly heavily. The other 2 patriots did not seem to be particularly well armed. Don't get me wrong, shotgun's nice, etc., etc. But if you're dealing with someone truly empowered, do you possess, well, to be blunt, anything empowered yourself?
Sadly, I do not. Except for a sharp eye and a quick trigger. The other 2 of my other compatriots are similar to me that are coming into town. So between the 3 of us, we represent something of a firepower. But I don't know if this firepower is going to be enough to fell someone that can make these type of cuts where the people are never surprised. Or They're surprised. Their victims were surprised, but it was this look of, I can't believe this is happening surprise.
Have you ever been surprised in such a way? Seen something that you know can't be real?
Can't say I've seen anything that made me think that.
He suddenly appears on the exact opposite side of you.
Ah.
It's an understated awe.
Okay, that I did not expect. And I probably, of course, do the whole flinch of the... That I did not expect.
A trifle compared to some people.
Well, now you understand our concern and how your town should, and how the town should take concern. This dangerous man is more dangerous than most. It isn't just a rogue gunman or a crazed killer. Now, I will say he is crazed, because any man that does these types of things is definitely not in his right mind.
Stay here for a few minutes. Get back to my house. I got something in my house. Take a long drag on the pipe.
I will pull out my tobacco and roll myself one as my hankering demands.
And he walk off down the thoroughfare a little bit. Disappears for a few seconds. Well, a few minutes. Matter of fact, long enough for hear some horses start to ride into town. First, it sounds like just one, but then you hear two. At this point, also, you notice a couple extra lanterns have been lit along the thoroughfare. And indeed, you see Gustav and Christopher coming up the thoroughfare. Do the big whistle, finger whistle. Chris, you hear I would imagine you've probably heard Vance use that whistle a couple times now to know it's Vance's whistle.
But to see where it came from.
You track it. I'm not sure why he's sitting on a glider seat in front of a nondescript house, but okay, fair enough. That's where he is. And there is in front of this house, though, two fairly large kitchen posts and a very large water shelf. So a little bit weird for a standard house. But
At this point, this isn't the weirdest thing I've seen tonight.
true enough.
By the way, your background music is kind of drowning me out.
Oh, sorry. It's really weird. I literally have the volume set at 10%. Is that better?
Yeah.
That's better.
I don't know why it pipes through so loud. I was experimenting a little bit with Jamie hopping on, and I don't know why it pipes through so damn loud. Anyway, okay, so, okay, y'all
Ride over.
ride up and swing off your horses, or tie off your horses.
It's Borden House. We're able to arrange.
Greg, look down your microphone.
Gents, it's Borden House. We were able to arrange billeting for the eve.
That's good. Good.
Any luck?
Terrifying luck. It's probably better to talk this once with everyone.
Yeah, let's wait till
But
we get inside.
I am plumb tired. What we saw is something I've only seen on the field of battle, and even then, nothing like this.
All right. Well, all right. Why don't you head in and make yourself known to the missus? I'm waiting for one of the other gentlemen in town to come back.
But yeah, we definitely need to talk in the morning.
Well, they just headed up about, I would say 10, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago.
They'll
You
probably,
think
you can easily rouse those boys and we can all talk.
And that's probably good. That's probably a good idea. We'll go into the house, see if
Okay, as you open up the door to the house, you see a somewhat heavy-set lady coming down steps, which are kind of just off to the left of the main entry of the house. She goes, oh, you must be the other two fellas.
indeed, ma'am, doff my cap. May I
Tom,
trouble you?
Tom.
May I trouble you to get my to tell my other two companions that they're needed?
Certainly. Let me refill my pitcher. That way, I can put some water in y'all's rooms as well. And I'll politely I'll ask them to come on in.
Thank you.
She heads
Sarah.
back into her kitchen real quick, and you can hear.
Wait, how long have we managed to get to sleep before this happened?
So, Walton, Gabriel, pretty much, you're probably just kind of going, okay, nice lady walked out of the room. You got your little pitcher of water, some water for any, ablations that you need during the night.
Take my boots off,
got
unbuckle
your
my
boots off.
trousers, and there's a knock at the door.
You're in your long underwears with big button back flap kind of
I hope it's buttoned up.
one of them is.
You're probably just kind of going, oh God, boy, that kink in the back of your back from laying down in the wagon, and knock. Mr. Larrabee?
Oh God, what?
I guess your friends like to chat with you real quick downstairs.
Did they look injured?
Can't say that they did, no.
All right.
She's like, well, I'm going to get the doctor anyway. And you hear another knock on the door next to you. A couple extra knocks. And you hear Dr. Trout waking up.
What?
The nice lady has woken you up just as you fell asleep. Evidently your friends are downstairs. Like to have a quick talk.
I guess I better put my pants back on.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Vance, did you go inside with everybody? Or are you still waiting out on the?
I'm waiting out on the veranda.
Okay.
Besides, I was still smoking.
That's good. You get about halfway through your roll, and you see Mr. Elks walking back. He sits down next to you. He pulls over a little stool chair. I don't know what kind of caliber you all prefer. But he hands you 4 45 caliber Colt rounds and 2 empty casings.
Oh.
Legend has it, casings to these rounds came from a hell gun. Cursed weapon.
A what now? A hell gun?
It's a cursed weapon used by a Confederate general. Now, you can believe in curses or not, I don't really care. But regardless of what the original gun had been able to do, or the original bullets even, shells seem to have some remnant force left in it, and imbues the bullets with that remnant force. Now you look at Mr. Elks, and it's pretty clear he's probably in his later 50s, going on 60, so he's past his shooting days. Now these shells have been used a couple times. I haven't had a chance to reload 2 of them, but even though I never used them, they kind of got handed to me as sort of, well, as a gift. That's beside the point. Bullets from these have taken down recently risen in one shot. Now, I don't know if you've tangled with any of the recents, but typically you gotta hit them in the head, sometimes twice, take those suckers down. These pretty much work like normal old bullets against them. Chest, head, they'll take them down. If you wing them, can't guarantee you that. I figure if they work against the nearly harrowed, maybe they'll help against, well, whatever you're up against.
What caliber are they?
45 Colt.
I truly appreciate this.
If you can reload the other 2, go for it. I strongly suggest you keep the casings.
No, I will. And, I'll shake his hand and thank him.
Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
After you track this sucker down, Lord hopes you do and successfully do so, I would appreciate if you could return at least one of the shells to me. Casings. I can get reloaded. And describe to me your experience, so it can be properly documented in the proper place.
Understood.
He gets up. All right, I figure I'm going to have to do some of this damn watch that Elks is setting, or that who was it? Savell's setting up. So I'm going to go get me a couple hours of shut-eye. And he walks off.
All right, in that case, I will head back in to join the rest of the group.
Okay, about the time you step in, you see Larrabee and Trout coming down the steps.
Looking very tired.
And Miss Pone says, "Here, use the dining room table. I won't bother you none." And she heads back into a back room.
All right. When I come in, I'll of course lock the front door again.
Speaker
And
speaks.
join everybody at the table. So, what'd you find, boys?
So what I have seen is reminiscence of 1,000 corpses that I've seen strewn across the fields of war. As we approached the mine, we saw a large pit, smoke coming out of it. In this pit, multiple bodies. 20, those things that came out of the hole back in town? So about 20 of those corpses in there as well, all of them smoldering. Odd thing is that there's no rubble. You expect with a pit of this side, there would be some evidence of it being dug. There was nothing. Mine is in a hill. Looks like it was formerly abandoned. However, someone or something has reopened it. There were boards that were nailed up, but they were pried open, and on those woods is this image of a Masonic symbol. Heard a sound coming from the cave, something that was hammering. And at the entrance, indeed, there was a large black horse, been ridden hard, almost to a froth, and as we approached, it had been whipped, so it had been driven for speed. Gustav and I actually got into the cave, and as we got in, there was a voice speaking in a strange language. Kind of reminds me of Latin from what I remember occasionally going to church. It's a low, guttural voice. There would be a little bit of hammering, a phrase made, more hammering, same phrase repeated. Now, at this point, we decided to vacate the cave. We hadn't been detected, and frankly, I don't think Gustav and I could have handled this thing on our own. Finally, as we got back to our horses, looked back at the edge of the pit, saw some movement. Appears that a figure briefly showed at the edge, then crawled back into the pit. Wasn't able to make out exactly what it was or what it is, but knowing what was in that pit is something that only reminds me of possibilities of what I've seen at Gettysburg. I can say this for certain. I am certain that the man that we are tracking, man from work, man from the town, is in that cave. What he's doing, I don't know, but we are in the right place.
Interesting. You said there were Masonic carvings. Were those on the wood on the inside of it or on the outside of it?
I couldn't rightly tell. My guess it would have been on the outside.
The boards were kind of torn,
Yeah.
So they could have been flipped around.
Yeah.
You did not have time to take note of the age one way or the other to try to get an idea of weathering or anything like that.
I only asked because you said it was Masonic. That's what are the names of those people? Masons. I believe that one of the townsfolk that I was just chatting with, a Mr. Elks, I spotted that he had some interesting cufflinks when we were first meeting with everyone in the tavern. And I chatted with him for a bit. He seems to be one of those Freemasons.
Those are pretty common back then, right? I mean, that's not exactly. I mean, what 10% of adult white males might have been Masons back then? 5%. It's pretty big.
If they can trace their lineage back. I don't think anybody back then could just go and join the Masons.
Gustav, what can you add to what Vance told us? Gustav.
I know it's just so. I mean, we weren't there for very long. We were trying to get in and out as quickly and quietly as possible. I think once we were close enough to kind of hear what he was saying, not that we could much understand it, I think we realized at that point that we were in way over our heads, and had to sneak out real quiet, like not to startle his horse, because I had a sinking feeling that had we probed him with any questions or bullets, that we might not be talking to you folks right now. So my worry is that even all of us together might not be enough to stop him. And I mean, we've got what, 2 bullets and 2 more casings. I mean, who's the best shot here?
I haven't actually brought that up yet.
Yeah, he hasn't brought that up.
Oh, sorry.
I would say the moon shooter is the best.
Also, certainly.
I know who I vote for.
Okay, well, let me walk that back then. So, my worry is that he's too powerful for all of us to take on, Do you think we should go and try to get some help? What do you guys feel we should do?
And did y'all find out anything while you were in town?
The people here in town said that they had people that were coming from the mine after they reopened it that were coming up here, but they hadn't seen anybody in about 4 days. They said something
Well-
about that the miners didn't start going back into the mine itself that was closed up, but started building another shaft.
We didn't really get far enough.
I
in.
didn't see anything like that, but frankly, once
There,
we
there was
saw,
a pit.
well, I
But
wonder if they were digging that pit.
digging their own mass carnal pit.
Maybe. I mean, once we got past the stink of the bodies, we didn't get too far in before we turned tail to come back here. Christopher was pretty convinced that it was the same horse, so we're pretty sure that this is definitely the guy we've been following all along.
Well, I just have a couple general thoughts. If you're concerned about whether the two of you could do anything, I'm not much of a fighter, and Dr. Trout's healing skills can only do so much damage. You're right. Do we enlist help, general help, specialized help, or do we go in there with some sticks of dynamite and try to blow the cave and just use brute force? Just a thought.
What was the?
If he's in a cave, if you blow the cave, he's in the cave.
Did the horse look like a normal horse, or did it look like a strange horse?
As far as I could tell, it was a normal horse.
Gustav and Chris, about a give me a horse riding roll.
Horse riding?
Rolls.
Yeah, I kind of give you an idea more of like
Okay.
or
Sure.
or if you like, I'll let you take a choice, that or animal wrangling.
Considering that I don't have animal wrangling, but my
Right.
meat is pretty high, is actually higher than my. I still have a better chance. What's the difficulty? 6, 5, 7.
If you're doing horse riding, it is 6. If you're doing just off of your trait, it's going to be 8.
Better.
I'm going for horse riding.
Get horse riding. And I got a 7 total.
I got one.
So a success.
That would be a success. And Gustav,
Yeah, I got one success.
you got 1 success. Okay. Between the two of y'all, you can kind of glean a couple things. The horse, now that you have a little bit of time to reflect upon it, it was certainly in the shape of a horse. You're not too sure if the musculature was quite right. In addition, the way the horse was frothing, you don't get any normal horse could not have been ridden as hard as what would have made a horse like that froth like it did for any grand length of time. A handful of a few hours perhaps, but certainly not an all day, all evening ride.
Well, based on what we said, there's something unnatural about this horse. Looks like a horse. Once
Smells like a horse.
got stuff, thinking back on it, the way it was ridden, it should be dead.
Well, that doesn't bode well. However, as I'd mentioned, Mr. Elks, who I had talked to, who had originally helped close the mine. So that's why I asked which way that the emblems were facing. He came back while you guys, I was waiting for him to come back when you guys rode into town. He brought me something that he thought could help, and I pull out from my pocket the 4 shells.
Now, Vance, when you said close the mine and the way the symbols were facing, you trying to imply that as opposed to keeping people out of the mine, they might have been trying to keep something in?
That's what I'm wondering.
Another reason to blow the mine.
Did they say why they closed the mine?
No one really knows why they closed the mine, or at least aren't sharing that information. The general consensus that the tavern owner had was that the mayor had was that the mine was closed because the original owners had other mining rights in other locations that were more profitable, so they shut this one down. But it was originally a gold mine, and they said that the veins hadn't been tapped out yet, so they could always come back and restart it.
Which someone did. Did they say who they were for? The current owners or just some wildcatters?
That wasn't really. I didn't get the idea that it was someone else that came along to open up the mine. I figured that the way that the townspeople accepted it was that this was a group that was part of the original mine owners. Perhaps they had some documentation that stated such.
It's still being referred to as the Crave mine, and evidently Mr. Crave, I guess, from way back when. So it's still being referred to as the Crave mine now, but then again, the Sears building is still called the Sears building, and it ain't the Sears building anymore. So, habits die hard insofar as that goes. Let's see. By the way, Mr. Alex gave you a total of 6 casings, 4 which were loaded.
Right.
To give you a total.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So these shells and 4 rounds are 45 shells. These, he tells me, come from a hell gun, a cursed item that he stated that these rounds could take down the returned in one shot.
Very interesting.
So he offered those to me under the prelude that I would return at least one of the casings to him when we were done, and the story, so that it could be recorded. Seemed to me a very, very equitable price. So these will fit into Colts, and since the 3 of us all use Colts.
Well, we got to reload 2 of them. I suppose we can do that in the morning.
Yes. But this way we put them in one of your Colt guns. This way we're covered. Because I think, Gustav, you have a Colt, right?
I don't believe I do. Let me check here. I believe I have my Lamat revolver, which is a 40 caliber, and I have a 44 caliber Derringer, and I have my 56 Spencer rifle. So no, I do not have anything.
Yeah, then those won't make a difference to you.
I have a Colt.
Not much of it.
Yeah, me. I have a Colt Lightning, but I don't think it's a 45.
I have a Colt Navy. They should probably go to the best shooters.
So really, I know that Barnett has a 45.
Yeah, I have a Colt Peacemaker.
Yep. All right. So I guess we'll split it between us.
So I'm pretty good with the pistol. I just don't know if I'm going to get a shot off quick because I'm pretty slow compared to you guys. So I mean,
I've been working on my pistol, but
my pistol's 3D12.
The bigger question, gentlemen, is
that's 3D8. It's better than it was a 1 when I started, so it's got better.
the bigger question is: do we risk going at him tonight when most of us are tired and beat, or do we get a few hours shut eye and try to get the jump on him in the morning, thereby being the risk that he could be gone?
Well, it's a night creature, and we're exhausted, and I'd feel better going after anything like that with daylight, not in the night when we're exhausted.
Sure, and he has the advantage.
I can't see how that's a good plan.
And frankly, since I still know what I'm looking for, I'm confident I can find him again. But I get the feeling he ain't moving anytime soon.
Okay.
Just call it a gut.
My concern is what you heard.
He was
Ting,
making.
ting, and then the repetitive enchants.
It honestly sounded like he was putting something together.
Yes, and that's what worries me. Is he has the human remains? Is he building something using the human remains?
Well, you said it sounded metallic, so that doesn't really seem to follow.
The cuts are clean enough that he could put, be hammering bands to the limbs and to the torso so that they can be somehow connected. Maybe he's making some sort of metal homunculi.
Cyberpunk 1877.
Or even a Jewish golem.
The only reason I say
I was
homunculi
about
is
to
'cause
go there.
I read one of those fantastic tales that dealt with a homunculi.
I think you just like saying homunculi.
It's
Well,
a neat word.
I just don't. I don't see what we could do tonight except rush in exhausted in its element at night. I think we need to be prepared.
In my experience, that is the surest way to get us all dead.
All right, so let's do this. We'll get some shut-eye, get up first thing in the morning. I would suggest that we get some kerosene.
Explosives.
Or dynamite.
Well,
Or both.
kerosene and dynamite.
Yes, 2 thumbs up. 1 for kerosene, 1 for dynamite.
Kerosene for the charnel pit and dynamite for the mine and for the gentleman. And maybe, perhaps, we might be able to do something here.
Quick out of character. What skill governs dynamite? Is there an explosive skill?
Demolition.
It's the cross your fingers skill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I assume nobody here's got demolition. We can always ask. I mean, we could ask if somebody in town has some demolition skill who comes along.
Or perhaps they can show us.
Well, just so that pretty much we could know how much length of a fuse is how long of a burn.
Yeah.
See, this here is a quick fuse. This here is a long fuse. If you cut
I
this
guess
one
it comes down to it depends on how
8
you're
feet.
using it. I would see demolition as if you're like trying to strategically blow something out, but if you're just lighting and throwing it, that's throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess throwing is under strength.
The deafness.
It's under deftness. Really? Where?
Right below speed load.
Oh yeah, sure enough. Well, my aim sucks. But then again, I do have a D12 in that, so that might not be too bad.
Yeah, I have a D12 in there as well.
All right, so yes, let's all retire for the evening, and we'll reconnoiter in the morning to get what is needed and ride back to the mine, and in the daylight see what we can do.
All right. As you've been talking, you've noticed that through the window coverings of the front of the house, you've been noticing clearly that lanterns are being hung more, so the front thoroughfare is being lit up a little bit better. So, yay, I guess.
I will sleep in my clothes on top of the bed, ready to go at a moment's notice.
I'm doing the same.
All right.
I've done that plenty of times in the army, so.
Yep.
I'm sleeping how I normally sleep.
Really?
All my gun. I guess all of my Colt Lightning and my Derringer, on right where I can grab it. But that's about the only combination I'm doing.
Going here.
Not that it matters. I just remembered I'm a heavy sleeper.
Yes, you are. All right. You all start going to sleep. One moment.
All I can say is, at least right now, I don't have the trait night terrors.
That's to check a couple things.
Does the room I'm staying in, does it have a window that faces outside?
Yes, they all do.
First floor, second floor?
Everybody's up on the second floor.
Which is fine by me.
Good.
Of course, it did go through the windows and has gone through the roof, so that's probably not much help.
I figure there are little curtains there. I will, of course, take my knife and put it in the jamb so that it causes more of an issue of someone trying to open the window from the outside.
There are storm shutters if you want to close them.
Oh, that'll work. And then if there's a chair in my room, I will put it up against the door. Underneath the doorknob.
Oh, do the whole kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because I like to wake up in the morning.
Sure. Well, it's great waking up in the morning.
It beats the alternative.
I'm sorry if I missed something. Did we get the impression that we were being followed, or why are you being so cautious there, Vance?
Vance is always this cautious.
Vance is always this. Vance is a little paranoid. Okay.
And Vance talks about himself in the third person.
Yes. Vance has enemies.
All right. You prep up your room. If anybody else does similar preps, please shoot me a message or tell me directly. Otherwise, you all start drifting off to sleep.
I sleep better when I have arms around me. I'm just saying. If there's any volunteers,
No, those aren't
doctor.
Well, at some point in time of the night, Gustav, you are definitely not sleeping well.
Yeah, I figured.
It's a good thing I'm a heavy sleeper.
Typically, after close encounters of the occult kind, Gustav don't sleep too good.
I think the landlady's going to charge extra for the.
Destiny!
I said I wanted spoon with my dinner.
No wire hangers.
One second here.
I don't want it out.
What?
So the headline just came across: Dr. Dre's in the hospital with a brain aneurysm.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Dr. Dre.
Oh,
a real doctor. Calm down.
the Beats Audio guy.
Hey, sorry to instill politics. What's going on with Georgia?
I don't know. I think there's still...
Right now, it is Ossoff and Warnock in the lead, but there's still 2.2 million ballots to be counted.
What parties are they?
Democrat.
Is
They're in
Georgia
the
one,
lead?
is Georgia one of the Georgia one of those states where they count the mail-in ballots early?
No.
No, they count
Actually,
them
they
last.
can be signature verified and unsealed, but they don't start counting absentee ballots until they started at 7.
And we all know which way the absentee ballots tend to sway.
Yeah.
Shit. Does it
Yeah.
sound like they might actually win both seats after? That's not good. Supreme Court. Here comes the 13-person Supreme Court.
Well, Manchin says he won't do it, but I don't trust him. He's been voting.
They're a politician.
Man,
I don't
I
trust
thought
any
I
of them.
thought they were supposed to win Georgia. What happened?
Trump happened.
Yeah.
Trump's mouth happened.
Oh, that sucks.
He does keep opening his mouth. I saw a really interesting article. Well, anyways, we're still recording, I guess.
Yeah, we're recording.
Yeah. We don't know the politics of our audience, so
That's right.
we'll save that for the
That's
after.
a good point.
Yeah,
and
for
I
sure.
brought it up.
Gustav,
Yeah,
give me
good
a knowledge roll at a difficulty of 6.
Okay, knowledge roll.
Uh-huh.
Difficulty of 6.
Or you can do a smart. So I'll let you have the option.
Let's see. Well, that's 3d6 or 4d6. So let's do a smarts. That's 4d6. Got my little rolling tray here. Right. These let's see. Yeah, first. Now I can burn a white to do to re-roll 1 die, right?
That adds an additional die.
That adds an additional die.
Yeah. If you burn a red, basically it allows you to just simply add an additional die to whatever your high roll was.
I need those reds though. Gotta save up for some upgrades. All right. Well, I had a 5, so I guess I'm short.
Ooh, okay. I need to alter some things here.
I guess I'm just not that smart. I'll be within earshot. Just 1 second. I gotta grab a drink.
You have a dream, sir.
I do.
Uh-oh. That's usually not good.
You dream of the church that you'd just been in more than a few handful of hours ago. All the candles in the candelabras are these sort of mounds of black gush with wicks out of them, burning a fitful, darkish red flame. The priest is there, dressed in appropriate cassock and such. He's whispering a Latin, or what you think is Latin phrase, over and over again. Can't quite tell what Latin phrase is, though. What little that you've encountered through your life, state logos and such like that, or mottos and such. It's not anything quite along those lines. As the priest is gesticulating, repeating the same phrase over and over again, you see the shadow behind him changes to not the backdrop of the Christ, not even the backdrop of a simple wooden back wall, but that of a cave wall. the priest's shadows that he's cast upon this wall don't match that of the shadow of the priest. The shadow is hunched over, mimicking the priest's movements, but with one arm looking more or less correct, but with relatively long claws. The other arm, again, just cast in shadow, has a long blade coming off of it. This continues on for a short period of time until the candles, 12 of them, start to sputter and go to sort of a greenish light before they fade into nothing. And then you see the priest slowly morph into a horse and ride and gallops up the length of the church and goes outside. Through the window, the stained window, the priest is now gone. The shadow is gone, just as it appears as though sunlight comes through the stained glass window, and it appears as though that the priest, the horse, the shadow, all just kind of dissipate. And you wake up, the repeating phrase is still somewhat in your mind. And I'll message you what you think you remember.
One question. Did he seem to be chanting it as you might, as a priest might chant something at church and sort of the way you might chant a like a hymn, or was it a chant almost like he was casting a spell?
Fair enough. Let's see. As you currently don't have any occult, you don't know what casting a spell would sound like.
Okay. Did it sound like something normal a priest might say at a mass in Latin?
Potentially, except for the extremely repetitive nature of it.
Okay.
So that is stuck in your mind.
Okay.
That phrase.
Fair enough.
Mrs. Pone comes up, starts knocking on doors. It's fairly early in the morning. Waking people up. Roll to see who she wakes up first. Gustav, actually, the knocking kind of snaps you out of your peculiar, disturbing dream.
So the first thing I wake up to is the innkeeper.
Well, a knocking on the door of your bedroom. So you can see sunlight coming through your window. Early morning sunlight.
Well, I guess I'd better check on the others, and we better get started.
All right.
Who's in the room next to me?
Individual rooms.
But are any of the rooms near enough to me that they might have heard my
That's
My
fair enough.
indiscretions in the night.
That's fair enough. Let's see. We'll say Dr. Trout and Vance, you could have potentially have heard. Oh no, Vance, you're a heavy sleeper. Never mind. Dr. Trout, you might have heard the unfortunate sleepings. Let's see here. What is? You're not particularly a light sleeper or anything, correct? Doctor?
Can't hear you, Steve.
Sorry. What's the one where the the good hearing helps you? That should be the roll, probably, right?
Is that big ears?
Big ears gives you a
Gives you a
+2 on your cognition rolls.
So cognition, you want me to roll that, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the baseline.
We'll see what I roll. No, yeah, this is the roll I roll 8 and a 7 on.
Right.
I got a 10.
What?
I got a 10. Probably heard something.
Okay. Well, if you got a 10, okay, yeah, 10, yeah, you heard something.
I waste my good rolls on hearing my friend having nightmares, not shooting guns, and
now give me a knowledge roll, difficulty of 6.
all right. Nine.
A 9, success. Okay. Yeah, you definitely know that Gustav did not have a pleasant sleepy dreams with happy unicorns and stuff like that. Matter of fact, you recall through sort of not terrible screams or whatever, but you recall him actually chanting some Latin.
That's not good. That's not
Don't-
good at all.
You don't know exactly what the Latin was. You do recall, I said, it's not like you woke up and wrote it down, but you do recall the first short phrase.
Yep.
And I will send that to you.
That was the blackest, bladest, coldest.
There you go.
Well, so can I get some kind of weird medicine roll? Because I don't know. Back then, I don't know if the medical terms were all Latin or not.
A lot of terms were medical, but it was strictly, violent. It was mostly on the biological side.
It wasn't church Latin. It was descriptive Latin.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
quote unquote scientific Latin.
All right. The preacher's a Protestant preacher, right?
Yeah, but he probably know Latin, or at least have a fairly passing knowledge of it.
All right. Okay, so when we wake up and go down for breakfast or something, I'm going to talk to my friend.
Okay, well, Miss Pone's waking people up, kind of hoping for somebody to actually answer the door. Hey, you got a friend downstairs?
I'm up. I'll be down presently.
All right, and sort of knocks on the rest of people's doors,
Any
informing
chance
you
for
all
some
that
breakfast, ma'am?
that somebody who knows you all is in the sitting room downstairs. Breakfast will be served in just a couple minutes.
Where'd the sheriff sleep? Do we know?
Oh, to hell.
In the house, same thing with Lloyd.
All right.
No, since I don't need to get dressed, I'll head on downstairs.
Yeah, fair enough. Anybody else able to immediately go downstairs?
Get back in my room, go down.
No, I'm not going down without my gun and
Hey, if
put the gun on unless I'm
Marshall, the heavy sleeper is only a -2 to your cognition rolls made to
Oh.
wake up in an emergency.
Okay.
So
fair
it's
enough.
whatever the difficulty is. I just have to have the -2.
All right. Give me a cognition. Difficulty is going to be 8.
I got a 9.
All right. Give me a knowledge roll. Difficulty is 6.
Oh. Shit. Knowledge. What was my knowledge? 4d8s. Okay. I have a 6. 2 2s, a 4, and a 6.
Okay. Give me a percentile roll.
Ooh,
Interesting.
a percentile roll. All right. Oh, good. I got the percentile dice. A 25.
25. Similar. You recall Gustav sleeping, then not sleeping well. Those sort of moans and groans, not of the nice kind.
I also bite in my sleep.
None of the nice kind.
True. And then kind of annoyingly chanting something. And you recall part of the chant.
Aren't you guys glad you brought me along?
There is your chant.
Blah. Blah.
So, Chris,
Oh,
you
like.
immediately get downstairs and you see Tony downstairs. He is looking rough.
Bad and Tony, you ride all night to get here?
Once I found him, yeah.
Once you found what?
The other group didn't make it.
Whoa.
Got back to the town. Found a note saying that they picked up on trail. Rough directions. He pulls out a little sliver of paper, poorly written, basically describing heading to the mine, basically.
God.
I followed the trail and came up to this clearing. I guess this is what we've been looking for. I climbed down to the pit a little bit. Well, Ellsworth boots were down there. Chubby's handgun. Not sure about the rest of it, but then these things came out of the ground. I didn't get much look at them. Small. To be honest, I just ran. I can't believe I dodged it. I got cut. You can tell he's got actually a pretty bad gash on his leg. It is not a bite mark. It is can see it looks to be several punctures of some sort. It's kind of hard to tell. It's all kind of gummed up in his denim. Probably some of the best horse riding I've ever done in my damn life. Not
You
too sure
said
how
you
well
found
the
them?
horse is going to survive.
You said you found them in a pit? You see
Yeah.
anything else? Did you see a mine entrance or just a pit?
I just smelled that terrible smell. Pulled straight to it. But he
So-
seems to be in shock.
So what was it that got you there? What gave you that wound?
He's only now kind of noticing it. He reaches down and, son of a bitch. And he kind of grits his teeth and he pulls out a quill about this long.
Oh shit. Gustav, go get the doc right now.
Doctor, you awake?
Yeah, I'm getting
Let's get over here.
Yeah, he's
boots on.
fixing up his cravat. You know.
Strapping on my gun because I think it's a good time to have a gun with you at all times.
The hell kind of doctor are you?
The killing.
Do no harm.
He's a doctor with a gun.
Right.
Doctors with guns. It's
He's a doctor, not Batman.
So pretty much I was planning on, I grabbed my medical bag because it's basically, I'm taking everything out of the room. I'm not leaving anything behind. So I
okay.
come down the stairs.
All right. You do see Tony down there. He's
Hey, Tony.
futzing with his leg. There's a couple drops of blood on the ground, and you can see his leg itself from sort of the upper, just a couple inches below the knee, down all the way to the end of his trousers. Pretty bloody. And you can see he's holding what looks like a almost like a pen in his hand, kind of staring at it with like, what the hell is this thing?
All right. So I'll go up, and I'll go up in the chair. Is there like a table they can lay him on? Tony, get up on the table here.
Yeah, sure. There's a dining room table, so sure.
All right. So what happened? Yes. So
He kind of tells you in sort of a shortened breath version now. He's starting to go into a bit of shock now that he's seen his wound, and he's kind of told his tale once. So the image of what's happening is catching up in his brain a little bit now. Now he's trying to start to process it a little bit, and he's not enjoying the process too much.
who's got some whiskey? Give him some whiskey. That'll dull the pain.
Whiskey.
You can see Miss
all.
Tone almost holding up her finger and going like that. Typically in boarding houses, that wouldn't be okay, but
Okay, so let's splash some whiskey on the wound. Right.
okay. I mean, you have in your doctor's bag, you probably have some
Okay,
actual rubbing alcohol.
So now what is he holding? He's holding one of those quills.
Yes, but it's significantly larger than the ones that you found in the mouths of the horror and such. Like 4 times bigger.
All right, and so I guess my thoughts are that something. I'm not saying this out loud. Is that if one of these quills got in him, is something inevitably going to come out of his stomach. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do to test that. Besides,
So, just a quick flashback. So when we dealt with the unfortunate prostitute, didn't we think that one of them might have crawled in her mouth? Didn't she have some quills in her
yeah,
mouth?
it could have gone down her throat. I don't know. I mean, yeah. So yeah.
So are the quills themselves? I don't think we quite know at this point if they're poison or some kind of magic or exactly what the quills do aside from the worm itself.
I don't think.
I don't think we know what the long-term effects are.
Okay, so I'm gonna. So who's the one that shot it the first time? Was that you, Christopher?
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at Chris. I'm going to look real carefully right at Christopher. I'm going to say, I kind of step back away from the the deputy a little bit, and
He's not the body yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still alive.
I don't want to be right next to it any more than I need to be. And so I'm going to probe the wound and see if there's any kind of indications that something traveled from the wound up, or there's something on the vein.
And while he does that, I'll surreptitiously put my hand on my revolver. I'll take a look. Is Vance down here yet?
Yeah. Vance, yeah.
So
Vance is the one that pulled out the whiskey.
Make sure that he notices what I'm doing.
So yeah, so I'll glance at each one of you and so put my hand on my pistol, just to sort of give you the signal that you can figure out what that means. Look at the guy and pistol, and then I'm going to take the sheriff aside and tell him what. Take the sheriff aside and say, Sheriff, when the whore got one of these quills, she something came out of her stomach and
It's not good.
So just letting you know that something could happen here.
All right. Now, don't forget, Dr. Trout, you even got stabbed by one of the quills.
Yeah.
In your hand.
Yeah. And so I just treated, so I'm going to go back to try to treat, to disinfect.
Okay. You got to pull out I assume you probably have a scalpel or a very, very sharp, small knife.
I have scalpels. Yeah.
And you cut away the jeans basically at the knee to kind of, feel, because I say there's a fair amount of blood and it's coagulated somewhat.
Is there an infection that's set in, or?
Well, jeans off, you can figure out.
Let's do a medical, difficulty 6.
Medical's based on knowledge, right? So call them over.
Do you need an assistant?
It's kind of dead right in the center of your character sheet.
Yeah, but it carries over from the next column, so I want to make sure.
Right under from traits and aptitudes.
Yeah.
2 9s, a 7, and a 2.
And you only need a 6.
So no blow up, but you got 2 9s, so that's good. As you pull back the denim, you see 3 more quills have buried themselves deep into the calf muscle, and you notice that the quills are, at least these quills, are slightly hollow, and so blood's been coming through the quill and
bleeding out.
Yeah, bleeding out. So.
Okay. So I will quickly move into action. I'm gonna remove the quill. We're gonna take the quills. I'm gonna get my pliers. Somebody give me a jar or something.
Okay.
Good. And so I'm gonna take the quills and put them in a jar.
All right. Miss Pone provides a mason jar.
Okay. We got lots of samples. Someday we'll have time to look at them. We're not running.
That's right.
Yeah. So let's put a tourniquet. Is he bleeding out, or is he bleeding a lot, or is it just bleeding steadily?
It's more of a steady. So thankfully, it looks like it caught mostly in the calf muscle, didn't get into an artery or anything. So it looks like, unfortunately, the wound is more than an hour old, so you can certainly stop the bleeding. You can do another medical roll if you want to.
How about a surgery roll? Because I have surgery skill.
That is true. You do have surgery.
You're a doctor.
So yeah, I'm talking a lot more than I would be waiting. I mean, basically, I was in the hospital as an Antietam.
Yeah.
I act quickly, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But the only difference is we need to make sure nobody touches these things and they go in the mason jar, and not,
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and do a surgery roll. Surgery rolls, again, we'll go with the difficulty of 6 because you don't see anything particularly really wackadoodle here.
I rolled 2
I mean, the
10s.
quills are weird, but.
I rolled 2 10s each of them followed by a 9. So 19 and 19.
Wow. Okay. You're fairly sure you don't see any signs of infection.
Needle the thread out. Stitching them up.
You do a nice little fly stitch.
Well, we're also going to check the rest of them, make sure he didn't get stuck anywhere else.
Right. And you give him basically an examination. the nice thing about examinations even back then, you can do the old stick out your tongue and you pull up the little mirror thing and you check and such. And I would imagine at that point you double check to see if there's any peculiar wounds in the mouth or throat area. You do not see any.
Tony, you're a lucky man. Your fast riding probably saved your life.
He's a little loopy now from the booze and from, as I say, just shock and some pain. That takes you about 45 minutes to do that work. So especially while you're stitching and examining. So what would the other folks want to do during the 45 minutes of
Marshall? I'd like to go check on his horse because he said something about his horse being badly hurt, and I want to see if the horse has any quills in it or has any bullet wounds or anything of that nature.
Don't forget, you wanted to reload those 2 rounds. Make sure you don't forget that.
Actually, yeah, that's what I was going to do.
So probably for the first 10 minutes, we'll have guns drawn, their guns ready just in case it jumps out of him. But once it looks like he's just bleeding and it's nothing more severe than that, then probably, if one of you would stay, that would be helpful. The sheriff's there.
Okay, yeah, sheriff can certainly stay with you.
Somebody's got to go buy dynamite, kerosene.
Shopping.
Do you have kerosene back then, or is it like lantern oil or something?
It's like lantern oil.
Yeah, it's lantern oil.
A nice small cask would be lovely.
There would be. No, for the most part, it's lantern oil. Yeah. Kerosene.
Gentlemen say there was something happened to the other posse.
Yeah, he's the only survivor of the posse.
Is he from the other posse, or he went?
No, he was the guy that
went back to find.
And he found their bodies, or he went there with them?
So, what he told me when I came down is that he found a note in work saying that the other posse had picked up the trail, and as he followed it, he found them. It sounds like he was a little out of it, but from what I'm guessing, they found the mine site. And based on what he's saying about the pit, seems to match. So it sounds like other posse stumbled into, or the poor bastards went in for glory. I suspect when we go up to the mine site, we'll find them as well.
So we might want to let
Sheriff, my condolences on your men.
We might want to get some more people from the town, if nothing else, to provide perimeter guard, or to provide a little extra firepower if we're gonna have to. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Right, honestly, I don't know what we're dealing with. My thought is right now is that I'm willing to take the risk. I don't want to put these innocent people in harm's way.
Well, if nothing's done about it, they'll be at risk tomorrow. I mean, if we don't succeed.
If we don't succeed, then you don't have to worry.
Well,
sheriff speaks up. Seems this thing does most of its functionality at night.
Yeah, that's why we're hoping it'll be better in the daytime.
Yeah.
But we don't know if this thing sleeps or what it does during the day. So we'll see. But I mean,
haven't we pretty much been following this thing since Coldwater, and it has not stopped?
I remember we were a lot behind when we left Coldwater, so it rode to the night. It probably got to work at night, did what it had to do, did what it did, and whatever that weird sigil thing was, and then from the night rode into the mine. We haven't seen this during the day. We don't know what it does.
Well, maybe if we head over there and we can't find him during the day, we find a vantage point and we camp out until nightfall and see what.
My thought is we get there during the day, gives us a chance to, if we don't see evidence of them, it also gives us a chance to examine the mine a little bit more thoroughly and see what it was doing when we were there last night.
That's good thinking. Maybe we could even lay some kind of trap. We got this dynamite. Maybe we got some wire detonator.
I don't know about you. Explosives are not my trade.
Does anybody
Yeah,
have
it's
any
not something
demolition?
you don't want to practice as an amateur on.
Perhaps not.
Does anybody have demolitions at all?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
That's what I was saying. Maybe we could find somebody with mining experience.
I think they're all dead.
Not every miner in Kansas is dead. Just put out an ad.
At least the ones in our immediate area seem to be.
Well, we could just put out an ad looking for miner with extensive
Looking for miners.
explosives
No
and
questions asked.
looking for miner and yeah. No, maybe not.
So at some point, I'll reload the two casings that we have.
Okay.
Now, what would that be under? Shooting?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Wouldn't reloading be a more specific skill? Just to play devil's advocate.
They don't have one.
They don't have one.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it would almost seem like
Almost might under be science or something.
And smithing.
Or maybe scrounging under smarts.
well, I would
Tinkering.
go as far as to suggest I would imagine somebody even in this relatively small town probably has the appropriate loading.
Yeah. I'd have to look for that.
If nothing else, potentially just simply the general store.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's too much of a jump.
So, Vance, if you want to go shopping for dynamite and lamp oil, I'll take care of the 2 rounds. Get them
Alright.
loaded. That gives you the 3 loaded rounds, and I'll just take the 1 and the other 2 once I get them reloaded.
Alrighty. I will head and go pick up at least 2 things of kerosene. And probably, I'll just say 12 sticks of dynamite and some fuse.
And some matches.
You know, actually, it might not be bad. Would be like kind of make some kerosene and sticks and torches because you can always throw them, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to make. I mean, Partisans has been making, a stick, wrap with cloth, soak it in kerosene, light it, and it's
Doctor,
better,
you got
better than
burn.
trying to flick a match. And I don't know.
Doctor, you got burn cream in that there kit.
It's probably leaded with arsenic.
Let's see here. Burn cream.
I've got some ointments. I've
Yeah,
got
you have some ointments and salves.
I've got Dr. Brown's miracle elixir,
Some asbestos,
a little bit of lead and laudanum mixed together. Good for you.
Hey, man, asbestos was like the miracle material of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. It was structural, it didn't burn, it was awesome.
Like that DDT that people just spray themselves with it. Look, it's good for you. Completely healthy.
Let's see. All right, so for the reloads, well, okay, so for the dynamite, and what else were you looking for?
Kerosene.
Kerosene.
Or
Or not
lamp
kerosene, but lamp oil.
But yeah, that would be the general store, ran by Mr. Elks. So, I don't have the price for dynamite if somebody wants to look that up and
Yeah, I'm looking right now.
appropriately deduct
Hey,
that.
we got a corporate account.
Let's see. When you picked up those extra lanterns out of work, Did you pick up extra fuel as well? I think Vance, you're the one who grabbed
Maybe
it.
like one bottle of oil, probably. I mean, just enough to get us through.
Yeah, it probably wasn't a huge amount.
It's probably just a 10 or whatever. Of
Yeah, probably a tin of fuel.
All right. So I assume you're going to be wanting to grab whatever more than that.
Yeah,
So dynamite is $3 a stick,
stick. Yep.
Damn, that's actually pretty pricey.
and fuse is 5 cents a foot. Blasting caps are $1.
We don't quite know how to use those.
Yeah,
And
we don't
nitro
know.
is $2.50.
We
Yeah,
definitely don't know how to use
don't want to
nitro.
do anything with nitro.
Yeah, we know enough to not try the nitro on experiment day 1.
So
I mean,
let's see. That's gonna be.
Dynamite's really just nitroglycerin
6.
infused into a.
But it's more stable.
But it is significantly more stable unless it gets old or hot.
Yes, unless it gets old or hot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more stable than nitrogen.
So you keep it close to the chest.
And Mr. Oaks will explain. It's basically about 1 second per inch of fuse, give or take. Matter of fact, he's got a roll, right, and he cuts about a half a foot section off, and he just lights it and does it, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. Okay, so this batch was burnt a little quicker. So you probably want to figure out your ratio there. That was about 4 seconds for 6 inches of fuse. By the way, that's always a recommended thing, and that was one of the reasons why Pickett's charge failed.
In that case, I will buy. I'll buy 20 feet of fuse.
During Pickett's charge, he had a massive bombardment going from the Confederate side to the northern side, except for the Confederate side had just gotten in a new shipment of fuse, and they didn't have time to time out the fuses for the air blast, and so the blasts were going long.
Yeah.
And basically the artillery bombardment was totally ineffectual before Pickett's charge happened. Was it measure twice, cut once, right?
That's all right. And then the dead started to rise from the grave, and all of a sudden
right.
things didn't go the way.
There we go. Lantern oil per gallon, 10 cents. So that should be easy enough to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, more their bulk and weight is more of a concern than anything else after, because you left a wagon fairly far away. So.
Yeah.
More than a handful of gallons, and you really do need a wagon.
That's why I figure just 5 gallons.
Okay.
Between all of us, we should be able to get that out to the cart.
All right. Chris, you head over to actually over to the tack store briefly. No, you head into the bar and inquire as to where you can maybe get some reloads done, and I guess it would be Logan's probably Savel's there. He goes, oh, sure. There's we got a metalsmith here, and he can do reloads, no problem. And he gives you quick little directions and says, ask for Mr. Warner. He'll set you up.
Head over and go talk to Mr. Warner.
Okay. Short walk away. And this is sort of an all servicing sort of general repair, wagon wheel, smith, tin, and other metals, blah, blah, blah. When you're in a small town, you do multiple jobs. You see a rather tired looking fellow there. He kind of looks up. I can help you.
Mr. Warner,
Yes, sir.
got these 2 rounds I'd like to be reloaded 45 if you don't mind.
Sure. And I assume you hand him the shells.
Yes.
And what do you prefer gram-wise? How heavy of a load do you want in the shells?
I'll give him the standard, what I currently have.
Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my. I don't know at the top of my head in real life. 185 sound right?
Yeah, 180, 185, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
He examines the shells and go, well, for reuses, these are in great condition.
They're hell of a brass.
He starts to load, to set up his press and a little gunpowder, and he resets the he looks at the pan and he kind of pauses for a second. No, he doesn't. He doesn't pause at all. He just reloads them and hands them to you.
What do I owe you, good sir?
10 cents.
I'll give him 20.
All right. It's not a terribly expensive
Yeah.
operation. All right. And you got your bullets reloaded. I mean, it took a couple minutes,
Yeah.
Okay, so Gabriel, you got the leg tied up, sutured up all nice and neato. Vance, you went shopping. Chris, you got some bullets. Walt, Gustav, what are y'all up to this morning?
I was checking on his horse to see what had happened.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Okay, so you went outside. Give me a animal handling. Or
Horse riding?
It's more operation the horse. I think animal wrangling's more of a general kind of checking out the wellness of the critter.
Okay. Don't know how many points in animal wrangling, so it's a mean roll.
Right.
But it's one
so
higher.
Just toughness of 5. Pretty straightforward.
Toughness of 5.
Yeah.
Two successes.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
You're not used to competence from us.
Well, see, buying physical dice was the best thing I ever did because that damn random number generator would screw me every time. So now when I can really roll the dice, it helps.
Did you get it from cheatingdice.com?
That's right.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. It's cheatingdice.net. Thank you.
Or loadeddice.org.
Let's see here. So you check out the horse. It is it's had a couple minutes. It's been drinking a fair amount, but it also has it's not difficult to tell. It has several quills in it as well, and the horse is bleeding. The horse is a much bigger animal, so it could probably sustain the amount of blood loss it's having for probably several days before it really affects the horse. But it's got another 6 or 7 of these long quills on its right flank, which matches up with the right leg of Tony.
But the horse isn't acting sick or anything like that. It's not.
It does not appear to be poisoned or anything along those lines now.
Okay.
Which is good news.
I'll let the doctor know on my way back in. I know he's got his hands full at the present moment in time, but maybe he can do something for the horse.
Okay, I mean, with your wrangling, you could certainly.
Oh, you think I can pull him?
Yeah, you can pull him and
Okay.
little cloth wrap. You're pretty sure that you can just pull them, and that would be better for the horse. Maybe a stitch or two, later on by the doctor, just to, keep the horse in sort of top flight condition. But
Okay.
Okay, good. Walter?
Well, since it was my idea, I don't, maybe I'll try to make some torches, and I probably also want to spend a little time on my notes and writing up my story. So the only thing concrete I think I'll do is really try to get some torches, because I'm a fan of torches over matches when it comes to explosives, but that's just me.
Well, certainly a larger area if you're having to chuck something at it,
Especially if it's already doused in kerosene. That's a good start.
Well, that's very true. Now, don't forget, matches came in sort of two breeds back then. One is sort of your classic, what you think of as old-timey, sort of large wooden stick matches, right?
Yeah.
The other type were fumor matches, which actually had a glass bulb and some potassium nitrate on the tip of them. So literally, you just broke the bulb and they went and burned.
Why don't we have those today?
Because they're dangerous as hell.
Oh, come on!
Basically, like breaking a little light bulb.
Thanks, Dr. Killjoy. That sounds like a good time, but okay.
But back then, I mean, but yeah, those were pretty cool, because you could just basically snap them anywhere and they burn for 10, 15 seconds and then go out. But
like if it's in your hip pocket and you fall down and you fall on them.
Well, that was a very solid reason of why you'd have like cigarette cases were certainly, yes, to protect your cigarettes, but they're also to prevent your matches from exploding on you.
Yes, that's you don't want to patch. Where are my matches?
God damn it. But basically it's kind of made out of that same material, largely the same material that old-timey photographs, kind of but as I say, they had a little fulminate in it, and so yeah, great. I've been reading way too much about old-timey Western crap.
Yeah, there's something on the internet, right?
I've heard there's some junk on the internet. All right, so what's your tinkering?
I don't have tinkering. I'm an educated man, but I didn't take that at
I'm educated.
I didn't take that at Johns Hopkins. Okay.
Okay, since it's a relatively easy thing to make, I would call it a difficulty of 3, but your terror level in the town is now at a 5, or at a terror level of 2. So difficulty is 5.
And what skill we're gonna go with again?
Based off your smarts.
My smarts. All right, I got a chance. I got a pretty decent chance.
Yeah.
2 minimum successes, 5s. Did you say 6 or 5? No, you said it was a 3, so it's 5. Yeah, I got one. No, I got 1 5. I got a 5, 4, 3. So I think I have some really horrendously shitty, pardon my language, poorly made torches, but hopefully they'll do the trick. You have some
ugly torches. They would not win a torch construction contest, but luckily torches are largely a functional thing more than an aesthetics thing. Cloth,
which is a good thing.
Wood. I understand that people have even made them out of stanchions, out of brass stanchions.
Yeah, Vance will be like, Walt, I'm not gonna lie, that's the worst looking. That's the worst torch I've ever seen in my life.
So okay, you got yourself a clutch of non-lit torches ready to go.
I feel like I did something. That's good.
Vance?
How long are we gonna stick around here before we head out? Like, an hour or so, or are we plan on waiting until high noon?
It's up to y'all.
Once we have everything and we have everybody on horses, we can move the hell out.
So is there a doctor or somebody? So can the boarding
real doctor?
The doctor asked for a doctor. That is not a good testimony to your skills.
Here's where you should probably stop talking and listen to me so I can finish my action sentence. So is there somebody in the town that can take care of him? Because I want to go see the preacher real quick and ask him about that. In fact, I would actually wanted to talk to to Gustav as well.
Okay.
Oh, you mean-
So I'm trying to wrap this up and get it in the hands of someone
Yep.
else so I can deal with those two things.
You're fairly certain that Tony at this point is in a very stable condition. Really just needs to have an eye kept on him more than
Yeah.
anything else.
Someone
Just
feed
give him some opium and let him get some sleep.
Um,
one of the beds.
and Miss Ponet says, I can watch after him. I don't have any other boarders right now, so
All right.
um,
Oh, how much do we owe you for the beds, ma'am?
Mr. Elk said that the town was going to cover any expense.
Well, we appreciate your help.
Well, we appreciate you bringing in word of, well, whatever the discussions you menfolk had.
And the breakfast was nice.
And it was a hearty breakfast of breakfast.
Oatmeal.
No, just breakfast soup. No, it was probably a lot of eggs and a lot of ground meat of some sort.
I'm gonna go find Gustav.
Okay.
So I'm actually just coming back in, wiping my hands off, having dealt with the horse outside.
Gustav, you have a moment?
I do.
Yeah.
What
So
is the doctor?
let's walk on out here and we'll have a chat. So I heard you last night sleeping quite restlessly, and at one point I heard you saying some words. Did you know you were doing that? You were saying some words, and it sounded like they were in Latin.
Now, doctor, as you know, I sometimes have trouble sleeping as of late. So I don't recall too much. Do you know what I was saying?
So I didn't get all of it, but because it was through the wall and all. But I did hear you say specifically "hoc sigillum," which
Yes.
it's not medical Latin; it's like church Latin.
I've never been much of a church-going man, but I had this dream. So I'm going to sit down and kind of look at him. So I had this sort of unusual dream, more unusual than most of the dreams I have. So I was in a church, and there were these candles, almost like it was time for a mass, but there was no one else there. It was just me and the priest, and he was whispering this what I think was Latin. Like you said, it was. I'm going to try to replicate it. It was hoc sigillum, pro tag modum altern, et pater terra retur jam. And he kept saying it over and over again. And at some point, the shadows behind him started changing. And I'm going to look at him and I'm going to get real serious for a moment. It said, in the shadows behind him, it didn't look like anything godly. Like it looked like something that was a mockery of what a priest should look like. It was like a hunched over old man or some kind of demon. But it was his shadow, but it wasn't his shadow. It wasn't following his movement. And then, now this is going to sound crazy, but the priest sort of turned into a horse. And as he galloped out of the church and the sun was rising, it all started to disappear. Now, I don't know if this is my mind playing tricks on me or if it meant anything, but it almost seemed to tell me that the light has something to do with this. And that maybe the light can drive it away, or the light can protect us, or maybe it means nothing. I'm not sure. But all I kept remembering as I woke up was that Latin that he kept saying to me. Do you have any idea what it means? I mean, you're a doctor.
So
you must know some Latin, medical school.
I do know a little bit of Latin, but most of the Latin I know is not church Latin. It's quadrille, septal, femur, it's all medical terms, all metacarpal and stuff like that, which doesn't have any context here. I mean, Pater is father, and Terra is probably earth. But what we might want to do is go see the preacher, and he might have a Latin dictionary that we can use.
That's not a bad thought. He kept chanting it, and at first I thought it was something you might hear in church. And I've been to a few masses before, and most preachers still preach in Latin around here, and I never much understood it as a kid. But he repeated it so many times, and he said it with such intensity. I feel like it was maybe more important than just some.
The question was that the priest? I mean, was the priest saying something that was good, and the shadow was trying to stop him? or
I'm
was
not sure.
summoning the
Tell you the
shadow? I don't know the answer. You know, I wasn't in your dreams, and frankly, I'm quite glad I wasn't in your dreams.
Vance, you catch part of this conversation as you come back in from. Oh wait, no, Gustav was dealing with the horse. Never mind.
We're really just outside the boarding house, just out of earshot of other people. But
But the horse is listening to us, for the record.
Right.
So why don't we go? I mean, if you got time, so you sorted out what you needed to do?
Yeah, I think I'm good to go. Maybe we should hook up with the others.
Okay. Well, so I want to make sure we get to find out if we can get a little more information about these words before we set out. So if you want to go see the preacher and get it, see if I can borrow a dictionary or something.
Christopher is kind of already heading back. Didn't take too long to track down the tinsmith and head on back. Walt is probably just in the back of the boarding house, probably not dipping his torches, in fuel inside. I would imagine keeping it outside.
It's probably that's probably a good outdoor activity, I think.
Yeah.
So, Gustav, did you write that? Did you write those words down?
I did. When I woke up, I sketched them down.
Well, let me jot those down.
Now, I don't know if I spelled them right or whatever, but this is about as close as I can get from my memory.
I could probably correct some of the spelling, or at least that's an A, not an O. Okay.
Vance, you are unless you had any follow-ons with Mr. Elks, the shopping didn't take too terribly.
No, it was just going to be the shopping, and I wasn't going to go see him or try to track him down this morning. We already had our discussion last night.
Okay, I mean, you were right there talking to him. Fuse. He runs the general store.
Oh, he runs the general store. Oh, yeah. Okay. No, again, I thank him for that, and I tell him that we're going to head out to. We learned that the person in question that we're looking for was actually at the mine.
Oh.
So we're going to head out there. There is one thing they mentioned. Last night, someone mentioned that you helped close the mine. Yeah. Did you put any symbols on there as a prevention?
Yes, we did.
Those, the mine has been opened by the person that we're looking for. They said that the boards were pulled back.
Well, I'll admit, I have not been up there in quite some time, but we boarded that up quite significantly. It would have taken quite the effort to pull out those boards. Nonetheless, I know I showed you a certain amount of things last night. We discussed a certain amount of things. I don't know how far you believe the width and breadth of these sort of strange occurrences. But, well, the reason why we boarded it up I would not tell this to most people, because most people would just laugh it off. But perhaps you won't. Mr. Crave and his workforce were making pretty decent money there. The story of the mine being near played out, not altogether truthful. Matter of fact, some of our people and his people went through some great effort to actually deliberately cut some additional cuts to make it look as though it was more played out than it was. Frankly, it was haunted. The miners couldn't stay in there. Ghosts, if you believe such things. So, we did the proper rituals according to our publication. boarded up. Mr. Crave moved on. He sends somebody back once a year to literally tap on the wall, not even inside, just outside, somewhere on the property, so as to maintain ownership rights. So you can't have any squatters come and do a claim on it. As long as you're working the mine at least once a year, it stays in your name.
Interesting. So these other men that were there, they're not Coles?
I'm sorry?
The other men that were out there, they're not from his crew?
Oh, the recent men?
Yes.
Oh, hell no. Now, we didn't send word to Mr. Crave. I gotta admit, I don't even know how to contact him, or any of his representatives for that matter. We can only assume that the new people either contacted Mr. Crave and started working the mine either through his blessings, or they were claim jumping. But to be honest, that's between Mr. Crave and whoever was working on the mine.
Yes.
So unless they report something to, well, I guess it'd be up to Coldwater. There weren't anything we could do about that anyway. And to be honest, there was enough of them. What we're gonna do? Throw up half the town at them?
Yeah, no.
Mine?
Well, we'll go take care of everything, and I'm sure we'll have quite a tale to tell.
All right.
And just as a note, we're about 5 minutes to 10.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we ought to probably wrap it here. Well, why don't we get everybody together? So Vance, you come on back.
Yep.
Trout, you were looking to talk to Vance, is that correct?
No, I talked to Graf. I got the information. I was going to go talk to him, see if I get some sort of Latin dictionary, or see if he knew enough Latin to help us figure out what those words meant.
And he wanted to go talk to the priest.
Okay.
The priest or preacher?
Priest, preacher, whatever the hell, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if he's Catholic, he knows Latin intimately. If he's somebody else, he might be varying degrees of Latin skill.
You got the impression from the brief encounter with the father that he's not Catholic, but he's not a lay preacher either. So he's
like a Presbyterian or something.
Yeah.
Episcopalian.
So that's pretty good. He knows.
Thank goodness he's not a Methodist.
Hey now.
He's a Methodist.
My parents are Methodists. Okay, so I guess you wrote down what Gustav, Gustav, you wrote down what you heard, or what you remember, right? And you can see from what Gustav writes down, so it's like, okay, Hawk signal him was, hoax sigillum, right? So it's like, okay, I can see where that would, and you gotta kind of go with what Gustav has. Gustav, if you want to go with the doctor, I don't know if you want to come to a priest after the dream of the priest. But
we're not going to talk about what the dream is. We said we found this Latin text and we wanted to see, or we hope someone heard it and wrote it down, and we wanted to see if you could identify what it meant.
Okay.
I recognize, pater and terra. I know what that is, but
okay, you I guess you head up to the church.
Sure.
Okay.
And I get some holy water while we're here. Just
Never a bad idea.
Not a bad idea, I suppose.
It can't hurt. Yeah, the worst it can do is make you wet.
Let's tie up all the tropes.
You head up to the
Silver bullets. Let's get some silver bullets.
No, that's a werewolf. And
That's a pull.
thank you.
Children of the night, shut up.
But as we're walking up or riding up or whatever, Gustav, I would say, Gustav, I think that dream of yours is significant. I don't think it's unrelated. Do you tend to have them in times of trouble, than dreams, or are they all the time?
What about the bedwetting?
The bedwetting is because I don't empty my water before I go to bed, so that's just.
The bedwetting is a choice.
Well, the bedwetting is because he wakes up at like 2 o'clock in the morning and goes, to pee or not to
Not
pee?
to pee. That is the question.
That is the question.
Question.
Yeah, well, usually when I do, that's the answer. So okay.
Anyway, so you go up to the church. The doors are unlocked. As with most churches like this, you just head on in. You know, there's no knocking in particular. It's pretty rare to catch a priest in an awkward moment. Hopefully. And you walk in, and 10 seconds later, the preacher comes out from what you can only assume is sort of his sort of private little area / office, whatever. And I hope you had a good night's rest.
Yes, Father, we had someone had written down some Latin some prayers, which I think are Latin. They sound very much like Latin. How's your Latin?
Pretty good last time I checked.
Got to be better than mine, unless we want to describe the 38 bones in the hand. My Latin is not going to be particularly helpful here. But we wrote down, the person wrote down the best they could of what they'd heard. And you know, it sounds more like church Latin than anything else. And so I was wondering if you could help us maybe translate these.
Certainly, be glad to. Here,
Pull it out and
he motions you into his office. Just sits down. He gets out a pair of glasses and looks at it. All right, first part. Folks, this seal. Pro target ludum ultra. Post target. And he kind of goes through some sort of permutations of that, and he's like, the syntax is off on this, absolutely.
This isn't a prayer. This isn't a prayer that any Christian. I mean, this isn't a Christian prayer you've heard, is it?
No, this appears to be more almost disjointed thoughts. Protect or shield this world from the following world or the next world. Et pater terra reassures resurgimus. Yes. This is interesting. Not quite the normal terminology here. The fathers of the earth shall rise. That's about as close as I can get to it.
Well, that's curious. Okay. Well, we'll very much appreciate it.
Well, but of course.
So we are going to go. We're about to head out to the mine and go deal with, hopefully, end this maniac's killing spree. You wouldn't happen to have any holy water, would you? Just in case.
Certainly would.
Did seem like something strange, and you know, these days there's a lot of strange things going on, and little assistance from the Almighty would never hurt.
Certainly.
If you'd pray for us, that would be great.
Would you like to be blessed?
Yes, Gustav?
Yeah.
Very well. And he gets out.
Starts repeating the prayer.
Come on, guys, bring it in. Let's go hug it out.
And does a blessing and even gives you. He rummages around and finds a small flask and fills it up. And here you go. On your next trait roll, add 1 additional die of whatever die you have.
Nice.
See, there's proof God exists.
Faith certainly does.
And apparently he's Presbyterian.
Say that again. So what's +1?
On your next trait roll,
Okay.
add an additional die. So let's say you're doing a quickness roll, and you know whatever you have in quickness, what you have 3d8. So on your next roll, that would be a 4d8.
Okay.
Gents, remind me to save my next trade roll for when I'm dodging that cold blade, okay?
As opposed to
That's the one I
lighting the
wanna use.
campfire.
Hey, can you overhear your friend sleepwalking? No,
Perfect.
no.
I'll let you two even do this. You can choose when to use that bless.
Before the sun rises again.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure it will fade because the source of his blessing only lasts so long. But
Oh, you're saying the infinite Holy One's power is limited? It can't? Oh, okay.
Mhm.
only limited through the vessel and the faith of the servant that carries it.
Oh, in which case,
I
you're
figure
out of
we'll
luck.
have
You're out of
cause
luck
to use it.
anyway.
I figure we'll have cause to use it next week.
Yeah, I was all ready. I had my cards all in hand, ready to go.
Those all the how many chips you got over there? You gonna tell us?
I'm not going to tell you how many.
Why
Well,
would he
I
tell us?
am limited to 10 chips, but I guarantee you I have 10 chips.
Mwahaha, they're all blue and red.
That's why we're all getting. That's why I got all whites out of the bag. Carl, it was Aaron.
I had my second camera ready to go. Here, let me stop the recording here. Hold on. Woohoo.